March madness begins. March is the craziest, most intense and happening month in 2025. We're going to have two eclipses. We're going to have Venus and Mercury going retrograde. We're going to have Neptune moving into Aries. Bam, bam, bam. Each one of those events is big astrological events. Put all five together, and I called it March Madness. So this is very important to watch, to be prepared. The layers will be shifting, the directions of our lives with eclipses, fated events get activated in our lives. With retrograde planets, we turn direction, we start changing how we feel, think, and feel about something. With eclipses, we totally derail the train onto another direction, basically. So, wow. And it's all happening in Aries, around the Aries area. But actually, to know specifically how this is going to affect you, you can, even if you're not looking at this video, you can just go to my transit calendar, personal transit calendar at astrolada.com, enter your birth details. No one else in the world will have the same transits like you have. These videos that I do for each of the 12 signs, they're just for your ascendant sign or sun sign or moon sign. But this calculator calculates every position of the planet in your horoscope. Is it Saturn? Is it Mercury? Is it Venus? And it gives you the transits that you're going to have day by day. It's only free for 7 days, but each 7 days it gets updated. So you always see 7 days ahead, but you can open for a longer period. And if you want to see those eclipses, one in Virgo, one in Aries, will directly affect you, you can check. For example, this is my horoscope. The eclipse is directly affecting me. It's conjunct my Mercury. It will totally turn around anything connected with Mercury in my horoscope. And look how many extensive interpretations there are. Or what other transits will retrograde Venus directly? They affect you directly. You look at transits of Venus. Oh yes, retrograde Venus will be opposite my Jupiter. Retrograde Venus will be square trine my Uranus. You can see much more specifically than those videos how you will be affected. And of course, we end with Neptune in Aries. Crazy. The eclipse, I don't know what's going to happen with the world. Let me just be honest. There might be big revelation of markets with those retrogrades, Mercury and Venus next to Saturn, next to Neptune, eclipse on the same degree. Some big news with wars and peace, because it's all happening in Aries. The world either getting in arms or disarming. I don't know which way it goes exactly. Big eclipse, lunar eclipse in Virgo. Virgo is the sign of the working class people, is the sign of the medical and hospital industries and the diseases as well. So where is going to hit us from? I don't know. This eclipse in Virgo is exactly opposite Saturn and opposite Neptune. So you have to be more careful with health, because this is the axis of illnesses, diseases as well, water, matters connected to water. But then all the action is also in Aries. So we have water, fire. Let's start. I'm not going to go for the whole world, but individually, because you're important, how you're going to deal with these energies in your life. And believe me, this is once in a year, very rare opportunity, a lifetime, to really reset in a big way a certain area of your life where all this action is happening, whatever areas is. Let's begin. And by the way, I have 5-hour video for Neptune in Aries, for each one individually, only for personal predictions. It's only $20. It covers all possible transits Neptune can have to personal planets over the next 13 years, sextiles, trines, oppositions on Neptune through each house, and they're all full of personal stories that I've watched people for the last 20 years, how they overcome Neptune transit, what happens in their life. I give you many stories from the highest to the lowest, remedies how to deal with that, and I also explain to you how to find all the transits. Very easy, you don't need to know any astrology. This is my love of work, my work of love, sorry. Neptune's affecting me already. For you, if you'd like to get it, I'm putting a link below the description. Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, March 2025. Aquarius, the month starts with Venus turning retrograde in your third house on the 1st of April, and then Mercury turning retrograde in the third house on the 14th of April. And there is an eclipse then in your eighth house. And then there is Neptune entering your third house, and eclipse at the same day in your third house. So everything is here, the third house in Aries. What can we expect? Well, with a social planet, third house is social, connecting to others, daily meetings, interaction, business meetings, schedules. There can be Mercury and Venus here can throw a little bit of a chaos. So whatever plans you have, maybe March be more flexible. I know you're a fixed sign, but March be more flexible because plans, graphics, whatever you've prepared, there'll be some surprise. Maybe an old idea that you haven't completed, something comes to you, so you change your plans and you start working on some business or other or written or spoken project or media project that you haven't completed, and you can put a lot of efforts to perfect it, to improve it, because Mercury and Venus always wants to make something more harmonious, more well organized, more efficient. Mercury, Venus, more valuable. So maybe if you've missed something, some third house project that you're working, say making a website, something to do with media, something to do with training, learning, teaching, something to do with a report, with writing a book, something to do with the business administrative or letters or passwords. So, all of those things, a third house. So it's good to be cautious not to give passwords away, not to click randomly on things in March, not to get it's like a hijack of or hacked into accounts or social media places. So try to be more cautious around that. And if there is any breach in your security, that's maybe you haven't secured it well enough. So Mercury and Venus wants to make you aware of that. So yeah, confidential information, try to be careful not to give it too much around that time. But these are the negative sides. I had to warn you. There is also a lot of positive sides. As I said, you might be really making some project, very business third house. It's very businessy, administrative, or if you're a student, it's the studies that you're doing, the skills that you're learning, that you're putting extra efforts into. Because retrograde planets can mean sometimes it's moving slower, it's a bit harder, it requires extra efforts, but the final results in any communicative business media projects can be much more, or intellectual projects of any sorts can be much 3 times stronger by the planets, by the time the planets turn direct. So you might see the results from the middle of April and into May, that you end up with better communication abilities, with better information, or with better anything to do with writing, speaking, business plans and meetings. But initially there might be a bit of a chaos, business meetings getting canceled. You decided to study something, you can't start it. You have these plans, but someone turns up and you have to cancel the plan. The good side of the third house is that people from the past you haven't seen for a while can appear. So that can throw in your plans. Maybe your siblings come to visit. Maybe relatives you haven't seen move back and you're involved with them. Or maybe some schoolmates or some friends, Third house, so people that you were connected in business before, associates that can come back from the past to restart a project together. You can still be very productive. I've often had Venus and Mercury retrograde in the third house before, and I reconnect with people that I used to work to before, because third house is associates, to do something in a small group environment, to correct, to edit, to improve some intellectual or media project or whatever, or business. But of course, there can be delays with that, some frustrations, going over it, but again, always the final goal is to make it better. And that's why there is this delay. There might be also with documents, papers, important news that come back and surprise you as well, or documents and papers that you need to provide that you missed out on, or having scrambling up with some other piece of information and news that you need, but there is this energy of surprise there. There is this energy of something you didn't know about becomes known to you. When I had Venus retrograde there in the third house from ascendant, 8 years ago, yeah. That's like my whole plan, my whole graphic, everything got turned around, upside down. And I had to quickly reshuffle, automate everything, because the person who was doing all this, I stopped working with them. I found out some things about them. And I was first so stressed, going crazy. And then I was so happy by the time Venus and Mercury, they were both retrograde, actually. Again, around that time, 8 years ago, in the same area. I was so happy this done because ultimately I really streamlined and organized my schedule much better, more efficiently, with much more power control, more honestly, more fairly, more justly. So even if they're stressful, believe me, it's for the ultimate good. What else? The third house is trips. Some of you might go back to places you haven't been in a while from before that you liked, short trips. But you have to be careful with cars, with keys, not to lose, with electronic devices, because third house rules all of those things. And some of you might even decide to clean up, as I said, passwords as well. Some of you might decide to clean up your social media. Third house is how you connect to others. You might decide what you put in your head daily. Like you might decide, I'm no longer going on Threads or X or whatever. I'm putting too much things that stress me in my head. That's really kind of a restart, what's the word? Yeah, reset of your mind with all this third house activity. And you're like, no more, I'm not going to put this. I'm taking a break from electronics or or even in your real life, you might decide to withdraw from some people, not to communicate with them. Yes, sometimes with relatives, with neighbors, with siblings, with people in your immediate environment, there can be some crisis situation when Mercury and Venus are both retrograde there, or people you work with, as I said. But it's only so you can improve if something is not really healthy there. Or sometimes you might really have to cut out some people. But that's a good time to spring cleaning of your brain, of your mind, where you put your attention. And your internal dialogue is the third house. To really pay attention, how do you talk to yourself? And you can do some internal work. The retrograde planets is internal work with repeat, retrograde, repeat. Add affirmations, like every day and everywhere I'm getting better and better. Like every time, instead of letting your mind wander around, worrying about stuff, beating down on yourself, start repeating things like, I attract abundance to myself, money flows easy to me, I easily overcome, whatever. Find the short affirmations, 2 or 3, repeat them. That's very good remedy for Mercury, Venus in your third house. And declutter your space around. Third house is your immediate environment surrounding, especially what you perceive through the years, what you read, what you watch. Pull back a bit. Also be careful with things you say, because you might have to retract back your words. So I'm always careful around such periods, especially connected to the third house, because you might have to eat your words back, or you just might decide, you change your mind about how you think about someone, something. So this is powerful. This is powerful in a good way. If you're doing some trips, unless it's going back to old places you've been, be a bit more careful in March. But they can still have a lot of pleasant experiences on trips, because it's Mercury and Venus, after all. They're not negative planets. But just be prepared. Sometimes surprises with transportation, with vehicles, documents. And yeah, what else is third house? Siblings, as I said, people from the past connecting to you, restarting some project, taking some business project, bringing back life to it. But otherwise, it's very important spring cleaning of your brain, of your mind, of your communications, how you communicate. Even like someone who is like me, marketing, advertising, examining that approach, preparing maybe working on some project, researching, and then from the middle of April, launch it. Then when planets are moving direct, when you've tweaked and changed and seen from a different perspective how it can look, then release, launch, anything to do with business, with media, and so on. And last but not least, of course, there is an eclipse at the end of the month, exactly there again in your third house. So if you first declutter, you make space in your brain and with the people in your life, and then there is a brand new restart there for the next 6 months, because this solar eclipse is with the North Node. It brings something brand new there, so it can be like a new project, business project, new associates, new friends even in your life, restart of the life of a sibling, or in your relationships with neighbors, or even some kind of new adventure with studying and learning a new skill. Or actually, Mercury Venus retrograde in the third house might be asking you to use extra skills that you have, to extra attention, 3 times more efforts to put you using mental skills or any other skills. So some kind of a period where you have to be focused for a longer period on using your skills. And then the final results, if you've put the extra efforts, will be 3 times better. But there is this focus there. And then the eclipse third house really restarts from April onwards, this whole area of your life. In a positive way, by you gaining something, new beginnings there. All right, and there is another eclipse. It's in your 8th house, in our 8th house. It's in the middle of the month, exactly at the time that Mercury turns retrograde in our 3rd house. There is an eclipse in the 8th house. Why am I mentioning Mercury? Because Mercury rules this 8th house. It's the ruler, and it's in the 3rd house. So we need to connect the meanings of those 2 houses. First of all, eclipse in the 8th house with the lunar eclipse can be about a secret being really revealed, maybe some piece of missing information or secret or some confidential information that comes to you, because 3rd house is information, news that's kind of surprising possibly, or kind of revealing, or kind of gives you deep answers about traumas, or about your psychology and your deep motivations, or about an intimate partner who you can trust, or it might be connected to topics, some information that comes about taxes, insurance, or inheritance that you have to, some papers or documents you have to do, certain communications or clarifying conversations you need to have about such topics, taxes, insurances, inheritances, or about mutual finances, partners, investments that you have together, the money of your partner, the money of your clients, or the money of your business partner, some clarifying conversations on renegotiations of terms, who gives, who takes, but some piece of information, or if you maybe have some development, some investments, mutual investments, could be in a trust fund, could be in a pension fund, could be in stock or whatever. This is 8th house. There can be some surprise development there. The need to let go of something, release some positions, or because this is full moon eclipse, release, let go, or release some source of income that comes to you through others, and substitute it maybe through your own skills, because 3rd house is self-made wealth rather than one that comes to you from investments or from other resources. Or there's this combining the meaning of the 3rd and the 2nd house in some way. Or maybe there is a payoff of some investment, some hidden investments that you've done that it pays off now in March, in April in some way, because this 8th house is activated. A release of relying on some kind of external source of support, and finding some internal, because the North Node is in the 2nd house, finding some new sources of income, some new sources of security that are more dependent on you. That's another way as well it can play out. But the 8th house is also house of sudden reversals and changes. They can be, as I said, surprise news, or something is the house of death and rebirth. News about death, news about births, news about maybe not yours, but news about someone being pregnant, news about someone being in a divorce. Eighth house is such kind of big events. News about someone suddenly getting pregnant or whatever, such kind of stuff might be news around that, or relatives or friends or siblings, that some big transformations are happening in their life. So we tie together the meaning of the third house and the eighth house. Some big change in the life of the family of your partner is the eighth house as well. Some news there as well. Oh, your mutual finances. Okay, I think I covered a lot of those. And this eclipse can also show big shift psychologically of some trauma. If you're stuck in some old feelings or obsessions or compulsions, they can be a release. The eighth house is a moksha house of liberation, being freed, released, and the full moon eclipse with the south node, which is the dragon's tail, about excreting, releasing, two meanings. And full moon is about endings, completion. So maybe something that had power and control over you, that was like a compulsion, or that had in some other way ability to control you by money or whatever, can be, you might be freed, like a debt you might be freed from, or some kind of other circumstance that you release that doesn't have, or circumstance or something that has compulsion or obsession, because third house is news, information, knowledge into your logical brain, into your everyday brain, about something that is very esoteric, hidden. So about some trauma, about some how you, the deep motivations that you had, that you can realize it logically, understand it, dawn on it clearly, which can help you overcome a dependency, it can help you overcome an obsession, it can help you overcome a trauma of some sort. Yes. And then, of course, we have the new, after this eclipse, this full moon eclipse, in your eighth house, the new moon eclipse in your third house that we talked about, and on the last day of the month, pretty much around the same time as the new moon eclipse, Neptune enters your third house, Aquarius, and it will stay there for the next 14 years. Well, in October it will live for 4 or 5 months, and then 2026 it comes back for 13 years. So you're gonna get to feel for 6 months this year what it is like to have Neptune in the third house. Maybe from April it will become more noticeable to you. Neptune will be sextiling your sign, so it will be supportive for Aquarius. Especially the early born Aquarius can feel it already from this year, but Neptune will impact your third house for many years. And third house is about being here in the present world and being interested in what's happening and your senses, and Neptune can make you a bit spaced out and much more interested in spiritual topics or mystical topics rather than in reality and in facts, because third house is facts, information. So I just advise you, Aquarians, for years ahead to check your facts, to check your sources of information. But if Neptune is making good aspects from the third house, you'll be receiving the most miraculous and magical information at the right time. Actually, you might be downloading even. You might be hearing and knowing your intuition, that answers can pop up in your mind without having to think and reach them logically. But also Neptune can help you transcend your thinking patterns gradually over 13 years, transcend the normal way you think into a more evolved and higher consciousness way of thinking, of seeing reality, of your everyday life, which is the third house, can become more magical. Just like kids, when we thought the world was more magical, the same way you can see more magic in the world around you. But Neptune also has its lower, darker side through the third house, which can be about, being ungrounded in everyday life, and especially in the practical and in the information Sorry about that. Wow. Third house is speaking. Neptune took my voice away. To be careful what I say. And because with Neptune in third house, words become powerful and magical. Words become magic. And how you talk to yourself, how you talk about yourself, you have to transcend all of that to talk with the right vibration, with what you really want to manifest, because Mercury manifests the intangible, the invisible into the visible world. And you can create reality with words with Mercury in the third house. But I speak and there's a lot more other stuff, more practical, that I talk about in my 5-hour webinar of Neptune in Aries, which is only $20. And any aspect Neptune can make, to whether it's sextile to your Sun, whether it's sextile to your Mercury, or square to your Venus, or conjunct your Mars, how it's going to go. Because even if if Neptune is just sextiling Aquarius, I'm sure it might be opposing something in your horoscope, like Pluto or Uranus or Saturn or square. It will be making certain aspects over the next 13 years, and I show you which years exactly that will happen and how to be prepared. I give you real life examples, how to deal with that, how you can benefit, how to use remedies, how to avoid the traps of Neptune, because it's a bit treacherous, Neptune. It can be very deceptive. So this third house, such an activity, thinking, communications, traveling, what you let in your brain, who you talk with, mental activity. And this eclipse in the 8th house, they tie in powerfully together this month. And so may you have the right intuition, who to leave in your life, who to remove, who are the right people supporting you, and what you need to eliminate. 8th house is the house of elimination, so you can be freer. And 8th house is the house of secrets, toxicity. This eclipse wants to free you from certain secrets, from certain toxicity, from certain toxic habits, even, so to speak. So may you be blessed, Aquarius.